Hi, book club members. I'm Jen.
And I'm Keri.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 144, and we are reading Double Eagle by Dan Abnett. The book tells the story, it's a classic story of the Fantine Air Corps trying to liberate a planet against not the Red Baron. We posted several questions on our website, WH40kbookclub.com, and we encourage participation in our conversations via YouTube, our site, or Encrypted Vox channel. Spoiler warning. If you haven't read this book that was published like 21 years ago, definitely go and read it before listening to this episode, as we're going to be discussing the book from start to finish in great detail. With that, let's dive in.
When was the
Keri.
original? Oh, 2004. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because we read it in 2007, and I thought that I thought it was newer when we had read it, but it was not. Anyways, with that, Keri, let's dive in. As always, did you like the book?
I've been dreading podcasting. I did not.
Really?
Really.
Oh man, okay. We'll dive into it. Why not? Or like too long did not read version of why not? Before we dive in detail.
Okay. First of all, the amounts of similes and metaphors the guy uses. Oh my God, did a fifth grader write this? Did you feel like you had to give everything a simile or a metaphor? The answer is you don't. And I hated the fact it didn't even get good until the halfway point. And then the ending was just such a, oh crap, I got to wrap it up. Mic drop, we're done. Mr. Abnett, you do not know how to end things. You do this huge buildup, you do this great character development, and then you just drop the ending like a hat. It's so unsatisfying. It happened in Ravener, the end of the Ravener trilogy. It happened at the end of the Eisenhorn trilogy. I mean, honestly, at the end of this book, I was like, I'm beginning to think the only thing of his that I've ever loved was the first Eisenhorn book, which is Xenos, and oh my God.
Horus Rising?
Horus Rising. And that's it. I'm beginning to think, I don't think he's a good writer.
Oh man. Okay. So here's one of the things I would say on that is that, all right, going back and reading this 17 years later, almost 18 years later, I forgot how abruptly it ends. But much like with Steel Tread, is the point of it, like we're being told the story from the point of view of an airman, right? They're pretty much only concerned with what's going on in the air, right? And once they kill the Red Baron, they're kind of like, all right, like things kind of now it's just a ground war. We're out, peace. But yeah, I gotta tell you, I was like, whoa, yeah, that did just end, didn't it? You kind of, it's almost like he got bored with the story. I was like, oh man, that was a rush.
So you killed the commander, and that's it. Everybody's just like, oh God, we can't do this anymore. They'll just give up and go home. I'm sorry. I have huge problem. Huge problem with that.
It's kind of indicative of the Blood Pact.
Well, maybe so, but I felt like but even then, there was nothing. It just has an epilogue. The epilogue was like, so this person was put out with this, and this is what happened near the end. Yay, we won. Really? Nothing after that? You're saying there was like no other air raids to go on with? You had already wasted my time for 300 pages, and then the last 100, you just drop it. Like, at the end of this, I was like, this is the Mass Effect 2 of writing. We do all this big character development and all these little story arcs and these little side quests to develop the character for what? Nothing.
Yeah, I think it definitely, the ending is very abrupt, and it always felt like the ending was supposed to have a sequel, right? Like, I think it's funny because now we're going to go and read Interceptor
I disagree
City.
Because the way the epilogue was, it's like, well, it's all done. It's all good. We're all happy. Bye.
Well, no, I think like for pre-Jag, like for Jagdea and the rest of the Fantine, it's like, all right, that campaign's done. So the rest of them on to the next battle, kind of like with Steel Tread or with like Kazarkin or with Longshot, right? Where they're like, look, we're just a guard regiment, and now we get shipped off to the next one and the next one and the next one.
But with those,
right?
There was an ongoing storyline with it that ended. I never felt like there was one in this book. It was just day in a life of all these people here, and we killed this one bad guy and now it's all over. That's weak. I hated it. I hated every bit of it. Yeah.
All right. I do want to talk more about that because there's a few things in there where I'm like, 18 years later. Anyways, what parts stood out to you?
I don't know. I mean, there's like that the apostles were a bunch of dicks.
I liked the idea that they kind of have this self-defense mechanism of we don't really care about each other. I mean, we care about other people, but we're trying to protect ourselves, right? Yeah, that guy was a jerk anyways.
Right. I mean,
we don't want to.
This is like, okay, sure, I guess. Not really seeing the point of you guys being here other than the fact of giving the title of the book, I guess. Sure. I guess Viltry, like he was really the only person I was invested in, to be totally honest, was Viltry. Viltry and Darrow. That was it. Anybody else did not care.
So one of the things I will say, when I read the book 18 years ago, and I keep saying the year because that's how, I mean, again, once we get into Interceptor City, 18 years later, anyway, it's like, books often write sequels 2 decades later.
Well, I mean, that's totally Abnett's idiom.
Kind of, yeah. So one of the things, when I read the book first, you have Bree Jagdea, who I really like, who's just this very confident, very serious character who like knows what she is. She knows her stuff. And you had Larice Ash. And when I first read the book, I didn't love Larice Ash. Now, here we are, many, many years later. I really like Larice Ash, and she occupies a very interesting point in female characters because now I feel like we so often get presented with Mary Sue characters, right? I'm the best at this. I'm super smart. I'm a really cool person. I'm like all of these things, right? So I love when Bree Jagdea is talking and she's like, yeah, man, she is like the greatest pilot I've ever flown with. As a pilot, oh, so good. As a person, she's very weak and fragile. And I like the idea that someone, like when you look at it like from an RPG, right? They spec'd entirely into this and put 0 into emotional maturity, right? Like it just, it makes her a very interesting character, not a likable character. Like you don't like Larice Ash, but like as a character, you're like, well, it's refreshing to see a very human and broken female character who just happens to be really super good at this other thing, right? Also, this is the book that has one of my favorite lines that my husband and I quote a lot when it comes to the Warhammer 40k universe, which is, what are you going to do? Swim for the Emperor? Everybody has a purpose. You just got to figure out what it is. And also, of course, I remembered that Blanchard dies. I forgot that he dies horribly in that. And I was like, oh, God damn it. I was very upset. Do you like Jagdea as a commander? Was she a good leader of her squadron? Did she feel like she was fit for the role?
Yes.
Again, thinking more like female characters.
Yes. I mean, I feel like I didn't really see flaws in her. She might have been a little bit more of a Mary Sue, except that she wasn't the best at what she was doing.
Well, that's why I thought maybe she wasn't the Mary Sue, because she's not the best pilot. Like, she's not like, I'm the leader, and I'm the best pilot, and I'm this, and I'm that.
Right.
No, I'm very competent, and I'm very opportunistic. Get us more pilots!
Well, I mean, that's just something, though, that Abnett does with his female characters. He doesn't make any of them mediocre. They're always really good at one thing. Or they're really good at lots of things, but they're really bad at this one thing. He doesn't make just bland female characters. And, it's like kind of one of my issues that I honestly had with Ravener was that, they, I forget forget her name, but like,
Patience Kiss.
Yes.
And
okay, so
Kara Swole was
Kara
this other guy.
Swole. Yes, Swole.
Swole.
Who like, they were practically perfect in every single way.
That was, I think, the downfall of a lot of his female characters. Because, like, the Gaunt's Ghost books were filled with very flawed characters. Except for Tona Crid. I'm going to come in there and make a very hot comment and say that Tona Crid was starting to approach on the Mary Sue character. So I wasn't super surprised when, like, Patience Kiss went that way. I think he started to lose his touch a little bit with his female characters. Before, he just kind of wrote, a character who just happened to be female, right? Like, you could tell, like, he could have written that character as a male, and he probably would have given them those same traits.
Yeah, but I mean, was she a competent leader? Well, yes, she was. She may not have been a spectacular flyer, but she was a good leader. She knew how to strategize. She knew how to keep up morale. I mean, the fact that she would, dress down Marqual quietly.
So I was telling Keri, I listened to the audiobook of this since I read it the first time, as you can tell by the sorely abused cover. It's a book that Jen read. That listening to it at first, they were talking about Marqual. And I was like, Marqual? It took me a second to realize Marqual is how I had said it, right? And then all I could think of was Marquellin. Is there a Marquellin? Anyway. Reference will never get old for me. Marqual. Anyways, yes, I thought that was a great example of that when she pulls him aside and is like, what were you doing? The fact that she went after him at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that
she didn't call the commissar.
Mm-hmm. Which she absolutely could have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked her. I liked her as a leader. I liked how opportunistic she was there at the end when they have all those extra flyers and she's like, I know pilots.
Right.
I absolutely know pilots. I also loved the way she talked, right, with Eames to get Darrow, and she's just like, why would you not have recommended this? Like, we're in the middle of a war.
So my one issue with the I need pilots, and she pulls in Kaminsky and Skalter, and Darrow's like, oh, this is Abnett's George Lucas moment. See, I had all these characters. It was all for this moment. I knew what I was doing all along. Kind of like at the end of Endgame, when suddenly all the females were right there for whatever reason. Like, yep, this was the plan all along. Okay, dude. Okay.
The females were there. We all know the reason that all of a sudden there's that scene with all the females. But it did feel... I liked it. It was my type of thing where I was like, yes, absolutely. We're getting the band together finally. Like, this is why we cared about these people. And this is why you introduced us to these people, right? And like, poor Darrow, who was such a good soldier because he was so diligent, right? This is why we're supposed to care about this guy, because now he's going to go and kill a bunch of people, but not the Red Baron.
No, he lets the crappy flyer, the guy who sucks at everything, do it. And then Abnett pulls a Dan Brown with Marqual's death. Because when Van Tull, had the hypoxia, he was just like, oh my God, what a horrible way to go. You don't even know that it's happening to you. You're getting slowly poisoned. And then that's how he dies. It's like, okay, so now we got a Dan Brown in here as well. I mean, you've already proven you're a Stephen King with this book. Or I feel like, did you have to bore the hell out of me with all this extra stuff that was in here?
Oh, man.
And then you pull a Dan Brown at the end, but you make it where you're just kind of like a little Jodie Picoult. Like, doesn't that get you in the feels? No, sir, it did not.
Okay, let's talk about the pilots. So I want to say, like, with Marquellin is now his name.
Marquellin, sure.
I actually took that. This is my own interpretation of that, right? was that, so he's constantly bitching about his cursed bird, his cursed bird, his cursed bird. And he's such a glory hound, right? Like I loved when the mechanics were like, stop complaining.
Yeah.
This is a you issue, not a machine issue. Loved that. Thought that was great. I kind of thought it like with him just being like, oh, like I don't want to die like that. Like, that's for like, ugh. Like I almost kind of thought it was the machine being like, you happy with your glory? Here you go. Like but I always really like the idea of the machine spirits being not sentient, but like definitely more like I think one of my favorite characters in the Fabulous Bill books was the butcher bird, right? It was a character. Now I'm retconning that it was a character in those books. I liked that Marquand gets his dressing down. I forgot how irritating he was though. Like I don't know how to say this, but I was really happy when he died. I was like, aw, good for you. You killed the Red Baron. Kilt.
I was actually sadder when the priest died.
Oh, yes. The Ayatani. That was one of those things too, like now obviously having read, like, especially with the focus on some of the books that we've read recently, right? I kind of forgot that the Ayatani were priests specifically of Saint Sabbath. And I was like, oh, I guess they're a little culty, aren't they? So when the Imperial Navy guys are like, ugh, cultist, like, he right though. But I also like that the Ayatani was like, and like, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I really liked him, and then he gets killed.
Yes, for people who read the Gaunt's Ghost book, one of the main characters in there is Ayatani Zoil, and Ayatani Zoil, like some books loved him, some books I was like, can we skip through this chapter? I'm over you now. This book was kind of like, okay, I've got a really cool Ayatani character in here too, and okay, yeah, I liked him. Obviously, he was good. I loved Kaminsky. Obviously, I loved the whole idea of like, I get a second chance. He just wants to kill for the Emperor. Let the man kill,
He doesn't want to drive for the Emperor.
That's right. But not because he wants glory, right? Just like, no, this is what I'm good at. Not like the idea he just gets wired into his bird.
Yeah, it's, with him and Darrow both, you get the sense about not being able to fly is very much akin to clipping their wings. It's, it hurts them on the inside.
Very much so. Very much so. You get the impression that was like, that's where they're supposed to be, right? But Darrow, I do think he needed that time out, right? He needed that, oh, okay, breathe. I was lucky I got away from that guy the first time. I've had like my time out and now I've processed and now I can come back and kill a bunch of people and be really awesome.
I mean, who knows how he would have been if he was still flying and he found Heckle, right?
Right. Exactly. And yeah, I was so happy that he got to have, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And Viltri too, right? The idea of Viltri coming back and being like, I did like that we have to be, okay, does everyone know how to use one of these? Okay, let's go have a training mission because y'all need to learn like real quick. Everyone's like, these are a little different. I did like that. I like that Viltri gets up. Viltri got a happy ending for the Warhammer 40k universe. That's pretty happy.
I mean, it was a happy ending. I honestly thought he had died at that one part. I was like, oh, well, okay. I mean, he kept talking about how his time was, he was living on borrowed time as it was. And of course, once again, he somehow survives when everyone else dies. It's just like, my God, why?
Because he was already dead. He died over the desert. Okay, I was very invested in Viltri's story. I was very happy that he gets a happy ending, right? Like, I love when he tells Bree, I never came back. And she's like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Like, totally fair. Just kill a bunch of planes for me and we're fair. We're on even Steven. And I also like that Bree would be that type of a cool guy.
Right.
I will say, his journey back with the tank column went on probably a little bit longer. So I did like at the end when they're like, oh, and by the way, this guy was there. Oh, okay. I don't think I really cared, but that's cool.
Right.
I love that for him.
Yeah.
He was there, and he was the one who stormed down the gates. That's nice. Like, little head pats for the tank guys. Oh, that is kind of funny to think that. I did like the scene where they were trying to shoot down the planes, and he's like, oh, you guys are not thinking about this correctly. Like, you're trying to hit these things like they're traveling in a straight line. That's not how this works. Tank guys are like, oh, good point. I liked that. I obviously still love the book, and I love all of the characters, but I will absolutely agree with you that it did feel a little busy with some of the characters. Like, you probably could have trimmed off like 4 people. Like, oh my god, and his name just totally escaped me. When she gets Darrow and that other guy who was also
Zemrick.
When he gets those two, I was like, that's kind of gilding the lily. Like they said in Zemrick, you could have just been like, you know what? You go back and help. We'll take Darrow.
Right.
Yeah, wasn't, and why? Like they had so many people they could have killed, and they killed Blanchard.
Well, I guess when he realized he was just killing off people we didn't care about, like Cordiale and Ranfrey, he was like, oh, or Ranfur, I don't know how they pronounced it in the audiobook. Like, oh, I should kill somebody's favorite character. I haven't done that in a while.
It's been a spell. Just been killing nameless guys that nobody cares about. Yeah, almost kind of like NPCs.
I mean, the guy who practically died of hypoxia, no, he gets to live.
Right. Yeah. I mean...
But the guy whose plane is the same name as title of my book, nah. Nah.
It was kind of a fitting end for him, though. It was kind of a fitting end. Like, you've just chased glory. Chased it and chased it and chased it. And you got it. And then you died. Like,
yeah,
that was a really fitting end for such a childish character, right? Of like...
It was for Markwall. Like, I knew Markwall was never making it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I knew that he was going to kill the Red Baron, and I knew he was never making it. The way that he died, I was like, okay, that was, again, Dan Brown and cheesy. But, oh, crap. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway. It, just like the airplanes, it's gone. Just left.
Just flew straight off.
Took my thought and ran off with it.
That's fair. All right, let's talk about Krill Cass Oberkon.
Oh, the guy who gets mentioned for like 3 chapters?
Man.
Cool.
Okay, so was he a good antagonist? No. And was he underutilized or just right?
He was utilized like hot and heavy in the beginning, and then like at the end is like, oh, right. They've been going after this guy. I should do another chapter from his point of view.
I think Dan Abnett,
I think he forgets what he's doing.
I have mixed feelings on this, because on one hand I was like, you know what? He very smartly recognizes, I made this guy majorly OP. We can't have him out in every sortie, because eventually we're going to have to explain why he's not just picking them off one by one. He also, I think I've mentioned, one of my absolute favorite Resident Evil entries was Nemesis, because one of the things they did really well with Nemesis is that Nemesis would show up, kick your ass, you'd have to run away, right? Big and scary. And then he'd be gone for like a good couple of hours of gameplay. But you were always like... where is he? Where is he? So like I can remember killing drain demons with the combat knife, because I don't want to use any of my ammo, because it is about time for Nemesis to show up. So I liked the idea of the Red Baron like lurking out there, right? Like every sortie you're like, ooh, is the pearl white bird going to be there? But I'm actually kind of with you, where I'm like, oh man, like every sortie I was like, well, okay, no, he wasn't in that one. Okay, no, he wasn't in that one. And then he finally shows up in the end. You're like, bro, you been asleep? But again,
well, especially
that OP.
I get it. I get what you're saying. However, the fact that when we were reading from his point of view, and he's talking about all he wants to do is fly and just kill as many people as possible, it just seemed weird that he just disappeared.
I would agree with that. I guess, okay. The implication is that he's off killing people and picking off people, right? in other places, just not with the Fantine. Like I got the impression that he's killing massive amounts of the Imperial Navy, which, goodbye. Nobody needed you anyways. But yeah, it does not make for, I think it would have been nice had we had like maybe 2 little chapters of, or even references, right?
Even
of
someone
like,
saying, oh my God, we saw the pearl white bat over here.
Right. Because they did say like when every time they would meet up with the Imperial Navy, they'd be like, yeah, this sortie didn't go so well. Like that pearl white bird was there, and you'd be like, ooh, I know who that is. Yeah, I think that given as overpowered as he made for the Fantine, yes, he is correctly utilized, but I will say that we probably needed a few more references of him in there to really have that, like, this guy's that nemesis quality of he's lurking out there in the ether, right?
Right.
Just to your point, it did kind of feel like Abnett was like, oh, wait, yeah, no, I forgot. I got to kill this guy, which is fair. We got to kill him, but should have seen him a little bit more. Okay. So, again, oh, man, this is a thing where I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about this too. Again, you can argue that because they're the Air Force, they just show up. They just show up. Look, we're just here for the air battle. We really don't care what is going down on the ground, right? Like, we really don't care about this.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, yes, the Blood Pact, including Sec, I forgot that Antor Sec was actually on that planet for a hot minute there. We want this planet because we are trying to make this advance. And if you've read the Gaunt's Ghost books, you know that they're getting their asses kicked everywhere else, right? And this one comes right after Traitor General was written. So we do know that they're trying to control a bunch of planets and own them under Chaos's banner, right? So having read Traitor General, I'm like, okay, I understand why you're trying to go for this planet. But just reading this book, what is your motivation? Like, why this planet in particular? Other than it's lovely and maybe they just want to get some good seafood.
Well, it sounded to me, just from what I was piecing together, that they just want to conquer all of the Sabbat worlds because they hate Saint Sabbat. So I was like, okay, It's just another planet in the Notch book, I guess.
Yeah, Saint Sabbat is,
like, honestly,
the Sabbatine worlds in general are good worlds.
Their motivation for being there didn't concern me. I didn't care because it's chaos. Chaos is going to chaos.
True, but that's interesting to know because I think coming from the Gaunt's Ghosts, I was like, yeah, but why this world in particular? Like, I mean, I guess when you look at the other worlds that they conquer, like, why were they on Herodor? Why were they on Fantine? Why were they on any of the worlds, right? Why can I not think? Or Hinterhouse, the planet, Yago. Why were they on any of the worlds, right? I guess that's true. But I'm like, I really don't feel like I understand where you guys fit in the larger deathosphere that is the Sabbat worlds, other than checking this planet off the box, I guess. I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more, especially since you had the big bad there. Imagine, just for a minute, going back to Marvel Phase 1, right? Imagine that Thanos just goes traipsing through the background of one of the movies and is like, hey, I'm here and my guys are doing stuff. And then he leaves and you're like, but there wasn't even an Infinity Stone on the split. Why was he here? It's that level, right? Of like, but there wasn't like, what were you doing here, friend? Did you get maybe they got lost? I don't know. Again, maybe he just liked an ocean world. He's like, you know what? Just want to get some good lobster. Which, okay, I get that. That's fair. All right, let's have a little bit of a meta conversation here. We have read some recent Dan Abnett. This is like OG Dan Abnett. How does this compare to recent Abnett?
I mean, there was no numerology, so there's that.
No king in yellow.
No king in yellow. No, there was nothing lore breaking, which I appreciated.
Can I posit a theory? Is Dan Abnett at his best when he's not changing the lore?
No. Because I have to point out Ravener. That
Oh, that's a good
was
point.
not
God
good.
damn it. Yeah, I know that trilogy's not good at all. Eh.
And there was nothing
Okay.
lore breaking in that either.
And yes, I know that somebody in the comments is going to pop up and be like, Horus Rising. You're absolutely correct. But as I've said before, I would unmake Horus Rising from existence if it would kill every other book he wrote in the Horus Heresy. And yes, I'm including Prospero Burns in there because the second that he introduced the Perpetuals, he was dead to me.
Oh, well, that happened in the
In the Alpha Legion book, yes.
7th book, Legion?
Legion, yes,
Yep.
that's the book where it gets it. But everything that comes after
Yep.
that, yeah, I would unmake Horus Rising to miss out on all of the Perpetuals and everything else, and I would even miss out on Prospero Burns. I would happily be like, yeah, sorry, because I'm going to be really honest and tell you that as the years go by, the whole Caspar Hauser thing is not aging well with my brain.
Well, just because they've never done anything with it.
That could be too.
I mean,
let's be really real.
I mean, after reading Prospero Burns, I was really hoping, because I haven't gotten through the siege. I've been struggling with the siege. And that's,
spoiler alert, he does not appear in the siege.
Okay, well, I didn't think he did, but even with like all the Space Wolves books that we've read and everything, no mention of this guy. Like, we know that his like body he's inhabiting, he's hanging out with the dreadnoughts. No one's seen this random guy hanging out with the dreadnoughts. Like,
even like mentioned it. And like Warhammer 40k does a lot of references.
yeah.
Nobody's mentioned it.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, I'm that's my hot take on Dan Abnett.
Like-
I feel like I enjoy most of the books of his I enjoy the most, including the Ravener series. The books I enjoy the most are not lore changing or lore breaking. They're just solid, hey, these guys go and they kill a thing.
like I liked Xenos a lot. The first Eisenhorn book. And I was like, there's a reason why I haven't talked to you about this book the entire week.
Oh, I kind of had a feeling. I was like, oh, yeah, she's been oddly quiet about this one.
Yeah, and I
had a feeling.
When I got to the end, like I told Sean, I was like, I'm beginning to question whether Dan Abnett was ever a good writer.
Oh, so I can't do that because there's just so many of the Gaunt's Ghost books that I love. Now,
I mean, that's fair. You've obviously read more stuff than I have. But I mean, like, oh my God. The opening 2 sentences of this book. In the side rush of dawn, the peaks glowed pink like some travesty of a fondant celebration cake. All right, that's already heavy-handed.
okay, yeah,
But
I
then
know. That one I was like,
But then the second sentence, hard shadows infill the cavities like ink. You don't have to do a simile and metaphor for everything. And then it just keeps going. Like I started making tallies in that first 2 chapters. I was like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing?
yeah, I'm not going to argue that one with you.
And that's, and honestly right there, that soured me from that point on. He also did these other 2 things that drove me crazy was that he would introduce an idea and everyone would know what he was talking about. But I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And then like several pages later, it'd be like, he'd explain what it was. Like, asshole, stop doing that. The second one I remember the most was FTR. When Bree went to Kaminsky to find Markwall, and she's like, I just need to find this guy. And he's just like, oh, because of this? She's like, no, FTR. He went, ah. To the point, I turned to my husband, who was in the military. I was like, what does FTR stand for in terms of someone missing? And he was like, I have no idea. Like, he's going through all the acronyms, and he couldn't think of anything. 3 pages later, they explain it means failure to return. That was the second time he did that in this book. And I was like, okay, stop doing that. It's not clever.
Either explain it now or don't, or just, yeah, I could see that. Here's the thing. Okay. And this is going to kill me. So I think I wrote an article about this, but I read this book this was the right book at the right time for me. When I first read it, right book, right time. And I actually now, so here's the thing, like the very high level.
You liked it. It's fine. You don't have to defend it.
No. Here's where I'm going with this. This is what's God, you should never go back and rewatch. Like when you go back and you watch movies you loved as a child,
right?
And you go back and you watch them as an adult and you're like, wow, that's rough.
It was like when my eldest, when he found the original She-Ra on Netflix, and I was so excited, and I was watching it with him, and then I wanted to call my mom and apologize for having that on their TV.
Yeah. Or like when you go back and you watch that movie that you just absolutely loved, and then you're like, oh no. So like I was a Monster Squad kid. I liked Monster Squad way better than the Goonies, right? And I actually I have a soft spot for it because it was really like I went back and watched it as an adult and was like, ooh, I see why I liked it as a kid, but this is not a good movie at all. Or The Gate. The Gate effed me up as a kid, which if you've seen it, you will know what I mean when I do that. It messed me up as a kid. But I went back and I watched as an adult and I was like, oh, this is so rough. This is rough. Some things you don't revisit. So the Too Long Did Not Read is my husband and I were both sick, vomiting, one bathroom. It was terrible. I read this book, and by the time we got through it, right, we were like, man, we're feeling better. It's so fast paced. Going back now, I was like, oh yeah, I see why we plow through it, because it was really fast paced and it really made us feel good. And I still have a soft spot for this book, and I love it, and it's amazing, and it will forever. I have a whole funny story about why it changed my life. But if I had not read this as many years ago as I had, having read Chris Raitt, having read Aaron Dembski-Bowden, obviously I still love the book, and obviously I disagree with a lot of what you've said. But when you talk about like the similes and metaphors, I'm like, yeah.
See, and this is actually part of the problem with, my main job is I'm an editor. So this stuff sticks out to me. Like plot devices reused, the way someone writes, it sticks out to me. Is like when I read Dan Brown, I only read his first 2 books.
Dude, okay, I read both of his books, like the first 2 books, and was like, this is such hot trash. I like literally did a toilet, like the number of times you referenced Dan Brown, I'm like, dude, did you secretly love these books, or did he really? Do we need to get the doll and you can show me where he touched you?
So, the first book, Angels and Demons, I really enjoyed. It was fun. I enjoyed it because I always like weird stuff with churches anyway. It's my weird Christian thing. The second book, when he not only uses the exact same plot device that he used in Angels and Demons, but he used exact same phrasing for things, not to mention the ending to Da Vinci Code was stupid. It ruined me of Dan Brown. And every time I brought up about the plot devices, people would be like, I never even noticed that. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like if people, because most of my friends who are reading these books and love them, they read brain candy, right? Which is nothing wrong with it. It's just
it's not at all.
This is why I didn't like it. So those kinds of things, like especially, oh my God, if you guys knew how much ChatGPT bullshit I have to edit on a daily basis.
I can't imagine.
I am very hypersensitive to all of this stuff. So I'm not saying like I'm better than everybody, or I'm like, well, because of my degree, I'm more literary than you. No, it's just I'm very hypersensitive to the stuff, and it's hard for me to get through even stuff that's fast paced. I mean, I do admit the battles, I was on the edge of my seat for those battles. They were very well written. I just had a problem with this is all not, unlike Steel Tread, unlike Lucille Shard, unlike, oh my God, The Witchbringer, Long Shot, all this stuff. There was not one central storyline tying it all together. Like at least with Steel Tread, with the different tanks, there was one thing tying it together. This did not have that, and that's what killed it for me in the end.
Yeah, I kind of understand, because God bless one of my really good friends. We go and see a movie every week together, right? I watch a lot of movies, like a lot of movies, and which you've probably gleaned from this podcast. I watch a lot of movies, and I'm somewhat good at pattern recognition with stories, right? So the reason I say God bless my friend is that the number of times we've been in a movie and I'll be like, oh, it's this guy. This guy's this isn't what's going on. It's this. And she'll just be like, Jen. Because then sure enough, that's what it was. Like, I will not say the name of the movie. We went and saw a movie last week and this character came on screen and I was like, oh, that's the guy who's behind all of it. And she just looks at me and she's like, swear to God, Jen. And I was like, I'm telling you right now, he's the guy. And she was like, no, I don't think so. Sure shit at the end. He's the guy behind it all. And she was like, how do you do that? Watch
Patterns.
a lot of movies and I recognize patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God. And I will say, like, for people who've read the Gaunt's Ghost books, a lot of pattern recognition in this. Dan Abnett, this is the one thing I will say, and similar to Stephen King, where I enjoy Stephen King's books, I enjoy Dan Abnett's books. I already made the joke about the Ayatani, right? Yep, that's Ayatani's wheel. I don't care what name you put on this guy, that's Ayatani's wheel, right? I don't care what name you put on this character. Like, Stephen King, at least like, has the common decency to name everybody Richie. All of his funny characters are Richie. Like, we know the characters.
God damn, seriously? Wow. I never put that together.
Well, just think about it. Like, think about the number of, but there's always that wisecracking kid friend who's almost always named Richie.
Huh.
There's like, he always has those characters. It's the same character. It's the exact same character from every other book, right?
I mean,
Even if he's given it another name, it's the same
true.
character.
It is true. Which is why I stopped reading his books too. That and
Right, like you eventually get to the point.
They're very long-winded, and I was reading so much of it. Oh my God. I was reading so much of his books that I would know what the supernatural thing was, behind it within 2 chapters.
Or who's going to become who's going to be a traitor, who's going to make things worse. Like, okay, Dan Abnett is very much that way as well. Like with the guard characters, right? Yep, I know this guy. Yep, I know that guy. Yep, I know this guy's going to do this. I know this guy's going to do that. And not just because I've read this book before. You've read, even when I was reading this book for the first time, like, and look, familiarity brings comfort, right? There's a reason that we have these stereotype characters. Like every rom-com, the female main character has to have a somewhat slutty, flighty, hot mess best friend, right? Name off the rom-coms where that's the best friend character, and she's probably played by Judy Greer. And so there's just like, it's familiarity, and it breeds comfort, right? It's like putting on your favorite pair of shoes.
See, now all I can think of, though, is my favorite Judy Greer character from Archer.
So it is, like, again, right? It's pattern recognition. And we like that. And it works. If you're into it, you like it. It's great. But if you're not into it, then it immediately irritates you. So I totally, like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, I'm so good. But on the other hand, I get it. Like, I read this book and obviously still love it. Still have a really soft fond spot for it. But I did notice a lot of stuff that I was like, oh, yeah. And again, and I know that I'm such a Chris Wright and ADB fangirl. Like, I know that. I read, like, Lords of Silence is a better book than this.
I mean, I don't
even like the Death Guard.
I listed off, like, 3 or 4 different Imperial Guard books that were better than this. So.
Well, but, like, the reason I say, like, Lords of Silence is better than this, A, I don't even like the Death Guard. And B, that book is off in its own little world. Like, it's just like a little island over here. You know what I mean? Like, and yes, there are Imperial Guards books. I can, in fact, like the 2 books that, like 3 of the next Gaunt's Ghost books, because there's Traitor General, His Last Command, and I can't think of the one that comes after that. But those 3 are better books than this one is. So still love it, still have a soft spot. Again, there was like, I had a very special moment with this book, but when you're like, I hated this book, I'm like, some of your opinions are wrong, but I also get them, understand them. So let me ask you the
I was talking to our
question.
friend Drew today. I was like, I don't want a podcast tonight. He's like, why did you not finish the book? I was like, no, I did. He's like, what's wrong? I was like, I really did not like it. And he's like, which book are you reading? I said, Double Eagle. He's like, the one that changed Jen's life. I'm like, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell this story really quickly. So years and years ago, I worked with this woman, and I'll actually say it on this podcast. I worked with this woman, and she recommended a book series to me called, the first book was called Rhapsody. It was the Rhapsody trilogy. And she gave this book to me, and she was like, this book changed my life. And I was like, whoa. And then I read the book, and it was such hot trash. Such hot trash. I mean, like, garbage. And I have an entire rant that I will not give everyone here. But if you want to ask me more, I'll be happy to discuss it in the Discord. It was Proto Twilight. And yes, I read all 3 books because I had to see if she ended up with the right guy. And of course she didn't, which just increased my hatred for these books. But it was really awkward because I was reading these books and she was like, oh my God, do you love them? And I'm like, I really like the part where the character's character, like the dialogue is full of words. Like trying to find like nice ways to not be like, this is like the Gru, this is garbage. You like this? Anyways, read this book. Made Double Eagle, read it that one night. We all felt like we felt better. We both felt better. We were like, oh man. And I made the joke. I was like, wow, that book was really life-changing. And the clouds parted and the sun shone upon me. And I was like, at 11 o'clock at night in our apartment that the windows backed up to an alley, sun shone on me. And I was like, oh, what if my friend had been having a terrible, rotten, no good, awful day? And she read Rhapsody. And it was the right book at the right moment for her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I better understood another human being. Because of the Red Baron in space. And that's why I say this book changed my life. It really did. Like, in all seriousness, it did make me like when people are like, oh my God, this book that you thought was terrible, I loved it. And I'm like, man, I hope that book spoke to you. And I hope it brought you joy in a moment. So I say like with the Dan Brown, so like one of my best friends, her husband's favorite book is the Da Vinci Code.
Of course.
So I call it hot trash, but I also like when he talks about it, I'm like, I love that book brought you such joy. Like I legitimately do. So anyways, that's why this book changed my life.
I guess I say the same thing for Wheel of Time fans. I mean,
the 12 book series that is really only 4 books. That then just get repeated and repeated and repeated. Like every book is a summary of the last book. But look, if you loved if those books brought you joy, I love that for you. I absolutely mean that too. So that's why this book changed my life. I became much more charitable in my, well, I love that it spoke to you. And I'm actually better now with like because it's like, oh, do you just love the love triangle? I like that it has 3 sides. I love that part of it. Isn't the villain super good? I love that he's villainous.
So it's like I like the villain things that he did.
I like that he was evil. He's not even y'all. I could legitimately like when people are like, hey, if somebody gave you $1 million to talk for an hour, those books, I could dissect those books. They're so bad. Anyways, that's why this book changed my life. But if you tell me you didn't like it, I'm like, cool. I love that for you.
Yeah, except that unfortunately, it does not make me excited to read.
Okay, that's the next question.
The next book.
So, 20 years, a book so good, it took 20 years to write the sequel. Are you excited for our next book, Interceptor City? God, it's like really heavy. Pages is this bad boy?
It's the same amount of pages as this one. It's just thicker
pages.
Oh,
is it just the okay, all right.
It's 400 pages, so it's just
407. Yeah, that's not that bad then.
No, hopefully I'll like it sooner than 200 pages in, so there's that.
She's got to be like 60 now, though. So the one thing that you're going to love about this book, since we have the same edition here, hold please. Go ahead and flip to this page. What is that? Are those dates? Are those dates? In my Black Library book? Are those friggin' dates? Dan Abnett, you saucy minx, you. Giving us dates. I wonder if
Gonna have to see where that is.
This actually kind of goes back to my theory that the Black Library just doesn't even edit his stuff anymore. I would like to imagine that it published and somebody was like, oh my God, a book with dates. And somebody was like, you didn't take the dates out?
Dude.
200 years before the rift, roughly.
You see up here? I have 3 500-page novels together. The Ends of the Death Parts 1, 2, and 3. just from that alone, I can tell he doesn't have an editor.
Y'all, I was legitimately waiting for them to announce a fourth End in the Death book. That became one of my running gags.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was expecting it too. I was actually surprised when they ended it at 3.
I was too. I wonder if like somebody like was like, Dan, for real though. But how am I going to fit the Yu-Gi-Oh battle in? Well, maybe you're going to have to cut something else out so that we can have a Yu-Gi-Oh battle because it does feel very important to the story.
Cut something. You want to cut one of my scenes?
What? But after the Yu-Gi-Oh battle, I completely and totally changed. Or before the Yu-Gi-Oh battle, I completely and totally changed the Sanguinius mythos. Well, maybe you could make the part where John Grammaticus is going tying strings on doorknobs a little shorter. But it's so integral to the story. I wish I was making shit up right now. I honestly wish I was making shit up.
That's actually what hurts me the most, is that I know you're not.
Yu-Gi-Oh battle. Anyways.
It's like, did he like see Stephen King's like unabridged The Stand and was like, hold my beer?
Well, it's not even, it's still shorter than it. He saw it and was like, I can do one better. Congratulations, Dan. I would actually legitimately, so I give it a lot of shit, but I would actually legitimately love to see them publish one volume of The End in the Death. It's like this big, so when you open, it's like opening the Oxford Dictionary, like foam.
I wonder if would be as thick as my unabridged Les Miserables.
It would be longer because I think it's a 5, 5, and 5. So, or no, is it a 5, 5, and 6?
My unabridged Les Mis is 1,600 pages.
Let's find out, shall we?
Hey, but it always depends, right, on the font size, you know, the spacing. I mean, there's lots of things that would factor into it.
So let's see. The unabridged, the Signet version is 1488. Let's see, because it is only 1,100 pages. Let's see now. Pages is each volume of Dan Abnett's End and the Death. Just go ahead and tell me here. 672, 673, and 512. So yeah, it beats it. There you go. You could tell. You can legitimately tell. Volume 1 was 672 pages. Volume 2 is 673. And Volume 3, they were like, Dan. Sanguinius died an entire book ago. He doesn't even die in book 3. Well, but I do kind of want to see. I want to see them publish like one volume of it, where it's like, you know, you have to like accordion it out.
Dan Abnett, when they announced Volume 3, there's just so much going on in here. Literally what he said.
There's not, though. Anyways, I have been told by a reliable source, an inside man, if you will, my impatient husband, that this is a return to form and that it is not lore changing or breaking. So we're going to find out. I'm going into it with...
Which return to form?
I'm going into it with very mid expectations, but I am excited for it.
I mean, I'm going into it very mid expectations. Unfortunately, I am not very excited for it because... Yeah, okay.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, maybe it'll blow my mind, you know?
Maybe it will. Maybe it'll just be really fun and you'll be like, oh man, that actually was really good. Oh.
I mean, here's hoping.
Yep, so, here is hoping.
Well, with that, before we go on like another tirade about...
Rant here?
About books that a lot of people in our Discord and YouTube fans just love, you guys can direct all hate at Jen Bozier. She's the one who's trashed The End of the Death. I have not read it yet. I have not trashed it yet.
I am good and comfortable in my hatred for it. So come at me, bro. Just come straight at me.
So we'll see when I read it if I'll be good with also trashing it. We'll see.
I'm gonna laugh really hard. Here's the thing, like I would like to take a bet now. So somebody like keep us honest here, either in Discord or on YouTube. Like keep us honest. I think Keri is gonna enjoy at least one of those volumes, and then I'm gonna be like, well, I'm an asshole.
Well, you know what? I wish you hadn't said that, because now I'm going to hate them out of spite. Or I just will never admit it.
By the time you get through all of this, you won't even remember.
Oh, I will now, because I got spite. I got spite working here, but
you know what? That's fair.
Yeah. Yep. So
you want to take us out, Keri?
Yeah, I still haven't read books that my parents have said I have to read, because that is the fastest way to get me to never want to read a book. It's a true story. So you've listened to the Warhammer 40k Book Club episode regarding Double Eagle by Dan Abnett. Be sure to join us next time for Interceptor City by the same guy. We are an unofficial book club and not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, give a review, and all those things to the vidcast on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, or the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And come join our Discord. I actually didn't realize there was a lot of conversations going on. I figured everyone stopped talking, but apparently my phone notifications got turned off.
Oh.
So sorry about that if anyone's missed me. Probably not. You guys seem to be taking care of yourselves, which is awesome. Keep it up. Please come join. There's really good discussions in there. And people often show what they're painting. That's kind of cool, because I suck at painting. So our site also has articles about adventures in reading other Warhammer 40k books and short stories outside of the book club books, so please stay well and read from a crag. I really did hate that I didn't like this book. I'm just throwing that out there.
It's still a better book than the Rhapsody trilogy.
Well, you know what? This actually had a better love story than Twilight.
Twilight had a better love story than the Rhapsody trilogy.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Now people are like going to go and discover these books and be like, what?
Well, with that, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.